Hello, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven Show. I'm your host, Tamara Calder Richardson, a six-time near-death experiencer, evidential medium, and channeler. I hope you're having a terrific day. I want to give you a couple announcements, and then we're going to rock on with our near-death experiencer guests that I have today. So I wanted to mention a couple quick announcements, and that is if you haven't signed up for my Ascension School, Academy of Divine Wisdom, please do. I have a free 30-minute Christ light meditation, really, really beautiful, that will take you to that light that I experienced in my near-death experience, one of them. And that I picked the one when I was with a couple times with Jesus, but this one is specifically so you can experience this too. If you need an evidential psychic medium, highly trained by training the British style of evidential mediumship, you will not be disappointed. They're very detailed and very loving and healing. And I also offer starseed services at my Academy of Divine Wisdom.com. You just go under the services section of that. And check out my merchandise, which is at the Seeking Heaven Channel store.com. And if you haven't told your friends about this channel, please do share the episodes and make sure you like and make comments. And I do try to answer every one. So thanks for being here. Let me introduce my guest today. And by the way, I handpick my guests out. Okay, these are ones that come up to me that in my mind through they pass in my direction in some way. They're usually not in a conventional way, like looking at others' channels. They're usually unusual, different ways that and if it connects with me and my guides say yes. And this is one of those that I felt like that her story needed to be heard. She just has such a beautiful and full of grace presence. And I'm talking about Leena Zafary. Now, she's had two near-death experiences, multiple near-death experiences. She is so courageous, and I want to find out how this happened, but she's the founder of her own IANDS in Las Vegas, as well as she started her MBS Alignment Center, and where she does vibrational healing, as well as helps people with their personal and spiritual growth. And she's going to tell us more about it. So let me bring on Leena. Leena, welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, we are going to have so much fun. So we had to do a little bit of lighting issues beforehand, but we are here. We're excited. And, everybody probably asks, how did your near-death experience start? But I always find that there's an earlier story to that. And I like to find out from people, what were they like? Did they grow up in a religious household? Was it a regular household? Where were they before this happened spiritually? Did they give it any thoughts? So can you tell us a little bit before, like who you were growing up? And then set up the day of your first account, how this happened. But I just kind of want to get a feel for where you were spiritually. And then you can move us through watching, what happened. I know you've had a couple. And then how it's changed you and where you are and how your perceptions have changed. And then to the point now, having spiritually transformative experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for doing this and allowing us to be able to share our experiences, because as you know, there's so much healing that happens personally as we share. And then also for people who are listening, and when they resonate with the little part, it's magical. So let's see. My near-death experience happened in 2014, but we're going to go back and we're going to talk a little bit about who I was. In 2014, I was a healthy, young, happy, married mother of two. I was living in Southern California. I was, again, happily married, mother of two kids that I thought up until then I couldn't have. So I was living the dream. Yeah. So wait, going back
Even
to me.
before that, before motherhood.
Before motherhood. So I was born in Kabul, Afghanistan. So,
okay.
Which meant a long time ago too. And so I was born and raised in a Muslim family. I had a wonderful family growing up. I've had lots of family, aunts, uncles, grandparents, just a lovely life. I grew up with a lot of love, just everything good. But I never felt that way. On the outside, I did. I had the most perfect childhood. I mean, yes, there were struggles in life. My family was living in a country, and then, there was war, and then we were brought here, and then I grew up here. So I came to the States when I was 7. So I grew up in America. I was raised here. I went to school here. Um, but I had strong roots. I had strong family foundation. So I was very much grounded in traditional religious cultural environment. I didn't really see eye to eye religiously growing up. With religion, I was very much religiously, I was kind of like the black sheep of the family. I had too many questions, and I never really nothing really fit for me. I had too many questions, and nobody could answer me, and it always frustrated me. So I was always kind of like, that. So, and in Islam, were raised and you grow up in Islam with the mentality, or at least I was under the impression that, it's either Islam or nothing. You can't get out of Islam. I mean, this is the last and the holiest religion. You're out. That's it. So I was like, okay, well, none of the other ones made sense because none of the other ones were ever introduced to me. So they were introduced to me as useless. So I was like, okay, well, then if I'm not gonna, the best thing is not good enough for me, then why even bother with the rest? So I kind of
They say the same things too, so don't worry about it. They think they're the best too, so that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so I was just living in La La Land, if that makes any sense. I had no spiritual practices.
Okay.
I did not meditate. I didn't belong to any kind of groups or organization. I had no language, no lingo, no practices, nothing. And I was not religious. And so I found myself in this space of no space. Nobody got me, and I couldn't understand anybody. I couldn't follow anybody. Everybody had either a religion or a spiritual practice that none of them made sense to me. So I was this lone little thing running around this, world. So that's kind of my existence. But I was always filled with so much love. I couldn't contain love. Like now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know this all the time. But I remember all my life tapping into this, I don't know, whatever you call it, but like when I would drive, especially I grew up in California. So Southern California has some beautiful roads and beautiful places, right? So it didn't matter where I was. I would easily go into my bliss space. I was just in pure bliss joy. So for me, the world existed was my world, which was pure bliss and joy. Put my music and drive, and I was in heaven. I would be in bliss. I couldn't explain other than that. And in my 3D world, where I was like constantly clashing with everybody, not being understood and not understanding what they were doing. So it was a two existence, but it was happy. I was good, no complaints. So that was me before my NDE, And then 2014, January of 2014. So let's go back a few weeks before. In December of 2013, I was living in California. I went on vacation with my family to Texas and then caught the cold, the flu. And I was a healthy individual. I was a nursing mom. My daughter was 18 months old. So I was a nursing mom, and my son at the time was 4, turning 5. So these dates are important because my son's birthday is on January 13th. So that's an important date for me. But anyways, first week of January, I get back home, and the day that I get home, I'm having such a hard time breathing that every breath feels like a knife piercing into my lungs. And I was like, this is not normal. This is not good. I need to go get checked out. And I was like, and I'm not one to go to the doctors. I'm healthy. I don't take medicine. I'm healthy. very healthy. So I was like, this is not normal. So I go to the hospital. It's like 10 o'clock at night. Put my kids to bed. And I say, well, I asked my younger brother, I said, why don't you take me to the urgent care ERs just to get checked out? Because I was like, I'm going to probably be there for 3, 4, 5 hours. So let's do it at night so I can be back home by morning before the kids wake up. That was the plan. That's not how it happened. I got to the hospital and they admitted me. And they said, no, we're going to keep you overnight. Well, literally, like once I got admitted, I was very much like I went right into, they put breathing thing on my face and I had pumps on my legs and I was in the hospital room for 3 days. I don't have many memories, but there's a picture of me on the 3rd day where I was sitting up in the hospital with my doctor standing next to me. And I look just like this and I'm smiling, completely healthy. But somehow she decided to keep me one more night for whatever reason. I don't know. But in the
Why did
picture, I
they
look.
excuse me, why did they keep you, Leena, in the first place? So, did they give you a reason?
At this point, no, I can't breathe and they can't figure it out.
Oh,
So
okay, they're keeping you because they can't figure out, and they're just like, "We'll keep you, we don't know."
yeah,
Okay.
because I couldn't breathe. Literally, the machine was on me, breathing for me. And then on the 3rd day, I got better because I was no longer on that. There's a picture of me. I mean, it's crazy,
Mm.
but that night, something happened to me, and they transferred me to the ICU. So I spent the next 5 days in the ICU room. And I found out later what had happened. So I'm going to tell you the information later. But in those 5 days in the ICU, they had no idea what was wrong with me. Or I think they had managed to understand or figure out that I had contracted the H1N1 virus in 2014. That's what was the active virus back then. So I had somehow contracted the H1N1 virus, which is a respiratory, just like COVID is, right? And it
Mm.
attacked both my lungs. So both my lungs started to deteriorate, like, they go out. So in x-rays, my lungs were like gone. And the doctors on that 5th day pretty much had informed my husband and my father and family that I was not responding to anything. They had been trying everything in the ICU room, and my lungs are not coming back, and there's nothing they can do because they're losing me because both my lungs are, giving out. So as I'm laying there in bed and my health is deteriorating and they can't figure out what to do, I'm sure they've tried everything, but I'm not responding to nothing. So 5 days in the ICU, I've got people coming and going, visiting. I'm not very coherent. The only thing that I remember is waking up, like coming, in the hospital and trying to like talk and like move and, saying, please let me go home. I got to go home. Like I was fully aware the date. I was fully aware that my son's birthday is coming up January 13, and now we're literally January 9, 10. That's the date. And I'm in the ICU. And I'm begging them to let me go because I'm also nursing my daughter. And I'm like, my daughter's waiting for me. Gotta let me go. But that's the extent of my memory because of whatever reason, that's it. And then, so that's my memory of my hospital stay, plus whatever I've been told through family and friends. But at that point, something very incredible happened. And what that was, my apologies, 1 second. My daughter is texting from school and okay. So apologies. Here I am laying in bed, out, not conscious, but all of a sudden I happened to just wake up. I got up. I got up and I looked around and I realized I was in the ICU room. I was fully aware where I was. I was completely conscious, completely aware. So at this exact moment, I'm looking around. As I look around, I'm looking to my right. I notice that I'm sitting at the edge of a hospital bed in my ICU room. The thing is, I'm sitting at the edge of the bed that my body is laying in. So to my right, right by my hip, is at the end of me is my body. And I'm like, oh, that's my body. But it doesn't, there's no, oh no. It was just like, oh, I'm right there. you know,
Very
and I
calming.
still
Right.
and I still have no idea what's happening. Like consciously, I don't realize what's happening, but it's just like right now. Like right now, I know I'm in an interview with you and we're talking and I'm sharing my story. At that moment, I was fully aware that I was sitting in the room and I was looking at that and I'm okay. And as I'm looking at my body and I'm thinking, okay, there's also I noticed 4 people, but more like I'm not seeing them clear. It's weird because maybe that's why I'm not clear, but I'm seeing 4 people kind of blurry and not clear, but kind of, I recognize them as doctors and nurses taking care of me. I don't see faces, but I just see 4 people on both sides of me. But I don't give it thought. It's an awareness that they're there. There's nothing else. It's just, they're just there. And
Mhm.
I happen to look around. And as I look around to my right, up at above, I hear a voice, and it's a very clear voice. It's a voice of like a maternal voice, a mother voice, a woman's voice. It's kind, firm, it's loud, it's clear, and it's very like, Leena, you got to go back.
Mm.
You got to decide, and you got to go back. Your kids are waiting for you. And as she says that, I'm listening. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, but nothing is registering. But, I'm looking around, and as I turn around this way, or not, but all of a sudden my awareness is on this side of me. And as I look over this way, I see both of my kids, my daughter and my son. They're just kind of right there in full form. Now, I don't know if I'm seeing them there, if I'm seeing them in their own space or where, but I see them right there as if they're right in front of me. And as I look at them, I mean, there's just no words. There's just no words. I'm fully aware that I've been yearning to see my kids and then finally get to see them. It's like, like the angels, the heavens open up and the angels sing like, I see my
Yeah.
babies and I'm completely happy.
Yeah.
It just, I feel like I took that breath of like that, and it's just like light and I feel so happy and I feel so good, like I'm just joy, light,
Mhm.
love. I don't know, but it's just like, it's perfect. It's like being in the warm sun. And I'm sensing them and I'm feeling light. I'm seeing light and it's an incredible space, but I don't have any other thoughts. It's just that. But another interesting thing happens as I look further out and in that state of bliss and in that state of joy, as I like further out, you see how I have like this black mirror, I mean curtain here, or black wall here. I
Yeah.
see I see into the darkness and I can see into the blackness and I can see silhouettes of people lined up and I could see rows of people sitting in the blackness of the wherever that is.
So what was the black? So you're seeing, was it
Like
in the room?
it, no, it's like literally it was it's like looking at the sky behind you, like your screensaver behind, like it's just like looking at the black and seeing the white dots and the stars. It's just like I could see that. I
Oh,
could see into the darkness. So
what was your impression who they might be?
and that's the thing. It was just like there was this knowing, like I saw them and I knew who
Mhm.
they were. They were people here on earth. They were not
Okay.
people crossed over. They were people
Oh,
here on
okay.
earth. These were the people that were visiting me, my family and friends here who were praying for me. Now, I told you I grew up in a large family, lots of friends. I had a
Yes.
big social circle. So there was a lot of people in my community who had heard about my, my dilemma of being in the hospital, a young mom with 2 kids. Who doesn't
Yes.
pray? So all these
Right.
people were praying for me. Like,
Oh
whatever
my
that
gosh.
meant.
That is, so you intuitively just knew, you're like, these are the people who've been praying for me. I would pray for you if I knew. I would be like, okay, let's go.
But
Please, divine intervention.
that's the beauty of humans. That's the beauty of humanity. That we think prayer happens in the time of religion and in church and in ritual
Mhm.
settings. It's not. Prayer is literally when you go into your heart that moment, you're like, oh, that poor lady, she's in a hospital, she's got baby. I hope she recovers. That's prayer. That's what we need.
It
We need to
is.
tap into the heart and just wish well
Oh,
for somebody.
that's
So,
powerful, Lena. That's
yeah.
beautiful. You need to teach
So,
people how to pray. You drop it to your heart and then you connect
yeah.
it with God and your higher self and you just say, "Hey, just please help that lady, man. Please
And
help
that's
her."
it. It doesn't matter what color you are, what language you speak, what
Mhm.
God you follow. They were all heard. So as I'm looking at these wonderful people, and as I'm realizing that they're praying for me, I can't hear their prayers, but I know they're praying for me. I can't see their faces, but I know that they know me and that they're for me. And so my curiosity is like, I want to know. Like I look for, like, how you you want to look at somebody, like a closer look, you look right at them and you like your eyes zoom in naturally. It's part
Yeah,
of our
kinda
human
target
nature.
them.
Yeah, our eyesight goes right into it, and then it just gets, we are able to see it. So here's what happened. My curiosity of wanting to see them in the dark, as I zeroed in with my eyes on who they were, here's what happened. They got lifted up in their space, and then they came closer to me so I could see. My eyes had activated them to come up and come closer so I could see them. And in that process of them coming up and coming closer, when they got closer, let me show you what I saw. I'm going to try burning myself, okay? When they came close, I saw them as the flame of a candle. Can you see that? There's
That's
way too much.
beautiful.
There's way you can't see it, but horrible image. It's not clear. But if you look at the tip of a candle when you light it,
Yeah.
no matter how big or what shape the candle is, the flame on top is always the same. And that's the same for all of us. No matter what we look like or how big or small or whatever, like a candle, the inside us is the same light. And I was able to see everybody's light. So they would different people, and I get to experience them coming close and seeing them as light. And there was just this beautiful, I don't know how to explain it, just this beautiful exchange of love. Like I thanked them for praying for me, and as I looked at them, they turned into light. And for many, many years, I was like wondering what that meant. What does that mean? What do I do with it? What does it mean? But we'll get to that later. But at that moment, it's like something happened. Somebody unplugged the TV and the screen went blank and the movie finished. Everything ended. And it went dark.
Okay.
Everything went blank and I had absolute zero consciousness there or here. Here's what happened. Everything went black, but I came back into my body, but I wasn't conscious. I was still in the black, but my soul came into the body.
Are you kidding? Okay, no, okay,
No,
no. So wait a minute. You were in the black place I was talking about, but there was a delay.
there's a delay. But my delay, please listen to this because I've never talked about this part in this detail. Okay, so I'm going to break it down.
Okay.
When
Please.
I came back into my body, everything went black. I told you, it's like all the light, the vision, the love, all that It's like literally if I was to unplug my TV and it would go black, it wouldn't like that black. But in that blackness, my soul went back into my body in the hospital. I woke up in my body. I sat up. I don't know what I did. I asked for food. I ate my burger. There's a picture of me sitting in the hospital eating a burger, fries and drink in front of me, time stamped, dated for after I woke up into my body, right? But I have no memory of it at all. Zero. I was in that black space. After I entered my body, I was still in that space. There's complete zero void, zero memory, zero nothing. It was almost like that chunk of time is missing both there and here. I was not there. I was not here. That time does not exist. I have zero memory of or awareness of coming into my body. I have zero awareness memory of opening my eyes and seeing somebody or what I said or what I ate or even asking for food. And the only reason I put all these together was because when I looked at my hospital discharge and I looked at the date and time that they discharged me, and I went back and I looked at what being in the hospital and then the picture of the burger and the drinks, it happened in that time. There's no memory.
So how
Nothing.
much time are you? This is like missing time. People that have missing time. How much missing time are we talking about?
I have no idea because nobody, like, I didn't know that happened until this past couple years because I saw the picture. Without the picture, I didn't know when and how. So I was like, okay,
You
so
had a wrong date. You had a wrong date. You thought you woke up later when actually you wrote before then.
I don't know.
Right? Because of the burger, you're like, wait a minute, I thought it was later. You mean I was earlier? I don't remember this.
I don't remember waking up. So I got up, I was in my body and I was up and I was moving and I was walking and I was talking and I was eating, but I was not there. My conscious was this who's talking was not in there. I did not come in until the next day when I remember walking with next to my husband to the car going home on January 11.
Okay.
January 11, there's a picture of me walking in the hospital in my hospital gown, making a video for my kids saying, I'm coming home, right? And then there's a picture of me time stamped when I got home. But the first memory I have is of me realizing I'm outside and I'm following my husband in the parking lot of a hospital to go into the car so we can drive home. And I remember sitting in the car driving home and I had no clue what happened. It was almost like, oh, we're going home. I had no idea that I was in the hospital for 9 days. I had no idea I was in the ICU. I had no idea what happened. None of it. And I did not remember waking up, eating, none of it.
Well, don't you think with a lot of us near-death experiencers that we do have this? I mean, if you're in a dead state, of course, you don't think you're dead because you're actually very conscious. You're thinking, so it doesn't feel dead. But you have at some point when you come back, I mean, we're in between states, and people could say it's between the living and the dead, but I think it's more than that. I mean, at that point, don't we have, and it's a question, not that we're going to solve all this, but I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just going to throw this out there. I mean, here we're two together. Why not? Let's see if we can figure it out. But it seems like that you're like, wow, you don't feel constraints. You don't feel even like you said, you're very casual about it. I was very casual about it. Like, yeah, well, there I am. It wasn't that I didn't care. It's just a different altered state. And your soul knows you're completely okay. But you have access to the multiverse, the different universes, everything. You could go hang out with God or the angels or whoever you want to and say, hey, I have some questions. I mean, so don't you think there's a lot of near-death experiencers? You've heard many as well that we have these moments before we get back here. And I think we should dive, not today, but I'm just saying, just as you know, the NDE world,
Mhm.
into those areas of like, what happened there? I mean, like nobody ever wants to go there. And I'm like, why? That was the best parts.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't that where the good stuff is? So apparently that
It is.
it was probably really positive, but I don't know if we're not supposed to remember it all because we can't handle it, or if it would interrupt our life mission. I think there's reasons why we don't remember. I think if you ask a medical expert, they may say, you know, amnesia. Of course, they're going to say that. But I think spiritually, there could be reasons, you know, we possibly might not be ready to hear what we were, you know, finding out, or maybe it had to do with our mission. What do you think those blank moments of the darkness, not just you, but just anyone, what are your uh, thoughts on that?
I don't know. What I understand is, I mean, what I'm realizing is that looking back at the time, I didn't know, but this is all like understanding and awareness, hindsight, looking back.
Hmm.
Um, I think, the state of our, like emotion, like our baseline ability, or to the depth of that connection that we create, because we come from source, right? As
Yeah.
babies. And as long as we can maintain that connection strongly, and we maintain that connection as adults, I think if we can learn to tap in and live in in this, because I lived in a world which I had struggles, but I was very, very strongly connected heart-wise to love. I had a lot of love in
Yeah.
me and around. I
Yeah.
was
You
very
said that.
I was very love connected. I was very much into poetry and romance and love. I used to listen to Hindi music and Indian poetry, like really deep poetry, and that normal people wouldn't listen to. And growing up, I would also read Rumi. So I understood that there
Mhm.
was an element that I was understanding, but there was a lot that it went as far as my capacity as a human that I was in. Do you know what I mean? Like, I spent a lot of time in love and bliss. So my experiences, my NDE, and also my STE, which was really, really profound, was very much of a experience to the utmost. I think PMH Atwaters describes it as the 2% that 2% of experience that have the transcendent experiences. For me, my experiences, all of them, had been to such a high transcendent space that when I came back, I didn't have the spiritual lingo, language, mindset, or habit, or religious. I didn't have anything to put it in.
Oh, okay. Which
You
is
know,
good because you didn't have as much like dogma as people do.
I had nothing. It was almost like I feel like most of my life I float in that inner space. Like, after my NDE, I came back and there was a blank space to where I was in my body and I was verbal and I was communicative, I was eating. But where was Leena? Where was
That is just
his
that is
consciousness?
fascinating.
Where was I? Where was
That is
I?
cool. What I mean, but then look at the nature of human beings, or the soul is multidimensional. My goodness, you could have been in more than one place. You were obviously very busy. You said you always ask questions. I mean, you just decided, bam, I'm going to go find my answers. I mean, you said you were very nosy, asking lots. I was too, but you know, I mean, a lot of us are, and you just, I guess, went there. I mean, how spectacular that you just have this like a what is it? Because it doesn't sound like there was any fear attached to it. You were just like, where the heck was I?
My experience has been nothing but bliss. But here's the thing: it's so funny how my life has always unraveled backwards. I've never done anything the way everybody else does. Everything in my life has been backwards. It reminds me of the salmon's journey. You know how the salmon all go one, but and then you go the opposite. It's like I
Yeah.
feel like my life has been that one. It's like that kind of thing. So I don't know where I was
Yeah,
going with
I
that.
know,
Sorry, I
but,
lost it.
you are the well, no, you didn't, it's awesome, you're the change, you're the little baby salmon, and that goes the
Uh,
other way. I mean, look at this world is not I mean, there's a lot of duality, a lot of craziness still going on, and here this little go the other way love salmon, you're just, you're starting a trend, you are the change. I mean, you're an example of that. I mean, your story's an example of that.
it's, I've never done anything, so I move on my own. I don't know. I dance to my own tune. I know that sentence was probably made for me because I definitely don't dance to the same tune as everybody else. I try. Just doesn't work out. Doesn't work out.
Well, there's certain things that was so strange. I just had this conversation earlier in another interview, and it was almost identical, and how it was with Steve Noble and how he tried so hard to fit in for 10 years, even was in banking. And I'm thinking, how many of us that are
Mm.
and people that are watching that consider themselves light workers or whatever they want to call themselves that try so hard to fit in exactly, but it's just difficult and it life becomes easier when you listen to your heart.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, I
So
had to surrender to that and release and allow the universe to guide me. Like I live literally like, all right, what do I do today? Where do I go today? Who do I talk to?
so when you got home and then did you I mean, I know you're probably thrilled to see your children, but and your husband, but were you did you find your when did you find yourself change or changing from that or change from that?
Immediately.
Really? Did you just
Immediately.
did you spiritually, did you look at things differently? And did you come back immediately with any abilities?
So so you know how they say your gift is a curse before you discover what it is and how to use it, then it's a gift. Oh
That's
my
funny.
goodness.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
My
Yeah.
gift was my curse. And for 4 years, 5 years, the curse beat the crap out of me.
Well,
And
what
and and
what
I
was
didn't
it?
know what it was. It was I guess they call it empathy, but whatever, I don't know how you call it, but I
Yeah,
could feel I
okay.
could feel people energetically without words understand things, but I didn't understand what I was understanding, and I didn't understand why
Uh,
I could read people, and I felt people, but I didn't know that what I was feeling was them and their emotions. I kept
mhm.
thinking, why am I feeling this turmoil of emotions inside me?
Oh, so you were like a little radar picking up on everybody, like sad, happy,
I've
this,
always
that,
been.
that.
I've always been. So it turns out through storytelling and through investigation, I found out 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I found out, and I just found this out 4 years ago, that my first NDE happened at birth. So I've been
Oh,
crazy since birth. Since birth, I had an NDE, but I didn't remember my NDE. But I have all the after effects of a child NDE. So I've lived my life
okay.
in this world from that space. So you now know that curiosity and the rebellion, all that was
Mhm.
that. But I didn't know that. The struggles was that,
Mm.
and my deep love for poetry and bliss and tapping into nature and feeling um feeling pulses of vibration of love energy and tears coming down. I would have oxytocin release in my body, and I would just feel the chemical release here. I would have tears. I would be in full on cry, but for joy and love of the simplest things, commercials, songs, cute kids. It was ridiculous. It was like my sensitivity was just crazy. So I've always had to be a tough person, to not allow that to be triggered. So I've lived my life very like this. But when I had my second NDE, that sensitivity got stronger. So it made me more aggressive because I was like, what? I still hadn't understand what it was. It was just more amplified. dealt with it all my life as a child, but now it's even more amplified. So after my NDE, remember I said I was living in California a year later. I had, the gifts. I guess you can say I can see spirit because I saw my daughter's spirit before she was even conceived. A
Oh, that's
month
neat. Was
before,
that in a dream or was that in
no,
person?
in person. I, I went to Disneyland with my kids and my husband a month and a half after my NDE. And I was standing there, and clear as day, I saw a 9 or 10-year-old child with these curly hair, black hair up to here, full curls. It's all I could see because she ran so fast. I didn't see a face. I just saw this child walk in front of me, and with hair, but it was in spirit though. And I saw the spirit flash in front of me, and I stopped and I was like, oh my God. And I looked at my husband. I said, that's our child. We're having a third child. But he just looked at me and like laughed, and he's like, okay, honey. Because, I just came home from the hospital. I had a lot of meds in me.
Right.
So, and I didn't realize, I was like, okay, well, that's what it was. So, but then when I got pregnant, I knew. And then when she was born, I knew. And then now she's 10 years old. And when I look at her, I'm like, yeah, I saw her.
That's her.
She
What
looks
a
like
what a What a gift. Well, the thing is when you hear this repeated theme, there is no time, and time is well, as Jesus told me in my NDs, he said that it's only moments of time, it's only segments of time. And so if that's the case, it's just segments. And if there you can go forward or backwards or stop or go forward or look into the future or look into the past, then the question would be, can we change the future? Can we change the past? And I think so. I think so. Especially if it comes from like you are saying, like a love vibration. Of course, when you saw that, you were probably excited, like, "Oh my gosh, look at that!" And so it was a welcoming. So that obviously that stuck because you were excited about the wasn't really a vision, but it was a visitation more than anything. Wouldn't you say?
it felt so real that it was annoying.
Well, I
Even though
mean,
I
it's
dismissed it, I didn't dismiss it.
oh well, no, not if you know to
I
your
didn't dismiss
core.
it. Yeah.
Right. Well, it wasn't like you well, and dreams can be more than just dreams, but this was something you experienced, you felt it, you knew it. So now your first, you kind of, if you're willing to go back and talk about the first NDE, do you recall how that passing was the NDE, or you just didn't quite make it, or were you already born at this point, or was it before you were born?
So it's a fairly rather short story, so I'll just share it. Um, After I discovered PMH at Waters at the IANDS conference, and I
Mhm.
discovered that kids have NDEs too, because I didn't even know I had one, and then
Yeah.
when I learned, right, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, kids have NDEs, and I met her and I read her book, and I was like, hold on a second, wait a minute, because I know you know when you're weird. You know when you're weird growing up as a child.
But a
So
lot of
I
people
started.
wake up because of her books, I'm telling you, and
I
you'd be
know.
surprised, you're like the 3rd person that
Yeah.
have she verified a lot for me.
Yeah. So I was like, wait a minute. I started reading like, okay, that's strange. That's strange. Okay. So I was like, hold on. So I went to my mom and dad and I said, hey, I know it's a long time ago, but do you remember when I was being bored? What happened? Can you tell me the story? So of
Yeah.
course my mom's like, yeah, of course I'll tell you the story. So she told me a story. So here's the story. Um, Back in Afghanistan, she was very young. I think she was like maybe 20, 19, 20, young girl. And marriage. So I'm her second child. My sister, who's a year and a half older than me, was born a year and a half prior. And my mom had a very, very bad scare when she was at the hospital giving birth to her, where she saw another woman have like I don't know, 4 or 5 kids, quintuplets or whatever. And it scared her because she thought, what if I have that many? I mean, this was a long time ago. So she,
Wait a minute. This woman was pregnant with 4 or 5 kids next to your mom, and the woman had no idea she had that many kids in her?
oh, my mom didn't know. She did. I don't know
No,
what
the
she did.
woman knew, but your mom was kinda mortified, like, "My god, I hope I don't have that
How
many
many's coming out? Like, shit, when is it going
coming
to
out."
stop?
Like one
Yeah.
time, like a puppy or something,
Yeah. So
like
she
a
had
litter of
one.
cat.
Yeah, but she
Wow.
saw another woman give birth to like 4 or 5 babies. She scared the you know what out of
Right.
her. So
Right,
so
yeah.
so when she got pregnant with me, I guess the trauma was so much that she thought if she didn't go to the hospital and have a home birth that she can bypass that. Why? I don't know. Bless her heart, my mama. So she decided to stay home and have a home birth. And in that process, she struggled for 4 days, 3 nights. So what happened is I was breech. It was sideways.
Mhm.
And I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck.
Got it.
And 4 days of struggle was hard on her physically, I'm sure. But, it was extremely difficult on me. So on the last night, like at midnight, my dad was like, it was finally like, it was like, he went and brought a local shaman or doctor at like midnight to the house. And that person came and, helped deliver me naturally. So I was born, but when I was born, I was black and blue, completely black and blue, like all body, not just my face, not just my lips, blue. So I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know, but there was no NICU. There was no ICU. Got tucked in a blanket. I don't know what else was done, but here I am.
Oh my gosh. That's wild. You know what? There are more it's a wonder that any of us make it through childhood or make it to be born. Seriously, because it's this and that's why it's I really appreciate you sharing that story. There's a lot of near death experiences that don't even realize they had ones in childhood, but you're right. You followed the trail
Yeah,
and in this case, it was the after effects, and you know what? People say, "Well, I've always been I little kid, well, let's trace it back." Mine was my first one was a prenatal, and I ran it. It was kinda, horrifying, but yeah, it was that well, yeah, but I made it and everything's great. But people don't realize that does have an effect. I think it's you wonder, are these things agreed upon? I think it's like this. I want to ask you what you think, but I think that when we come into the world and people talk about, oh, do you agree to near death experiences? I don't know if it's so much that. I just think that we can either take the fast track in life or the slow track. And I think for those that are very ambitious, we like to, be spiritual warriors and actually to be put through a little bit more that we don't know what form it's going to take, but it comes in that way. What do you feel? Because I do believe strongly these near death experiences on some level are agreed upon because you do
mhm.
get benefits from it, right? Because
Oh, absolutely.
magnified abilities and right. So what do you think about this?
Well, I'm not a religious person at all. Um, But even in some of the texts, and I don't even know which one to properly refer you to it, but even in some of the religious texts that I've read is, where because I've so before before my NDE, I knew nothing about Jesus and I knew nothing about Christianity besides the and it made no sense to me. I was like, what is all that? So I
Right.
didn't get it. Right?
Uh,
I was like, whatever. But anyways,
you-
after my STE, where I did have, where was in the presence of Christ and his light and Muhammad. So I
Oh,
had
that's
that
awesome.
interaction.
So when did
Yeah.
that well, you're just sneaking that in. So, okay, the spiritually transformed experiences. Oh my gosh, don't
That's
sneak
my
Jesus
STE.
in on me because he is
Oh,
just he's everybody. He's just a little love bug. So let's go
I know.
back. I know he's just awesome. He's just like wonderful. And so it's too bad he's tied into some religions because then people it turns him off on that when he
Yeah.
is just himself is so awesome. So and I don't mean that against anyone. I'm just
Yeah,
saying that
no, no.
he should be standalone for his message and whatnot. Anyway, so how did that occur? You just throw
Um,
that in there. I want to know how that happened.
oh, that's gonna be a big old story because you have to hear my STE. I mean, it's just really
Yeah, tell me. Okay, do you have time?
okay.
So do you have
I
time, Lena, to tell me this amazing spiritually transformed experience, which what spins off into others, right?
well, I mean, it spins off to who I am today and what I am, but I don't know. I'm kind of short on time because I have to go pick up my
Yeah.
daughter from school.
Oh, no
Like
worries,
I'm
no worries. We
going
can do
within an
this.
interview here, but this is life. I am a mom, so
No, and no, it's great. I love the one story that you've got. So you could just, you know, instead of, do you want to come back and tell the whole thing, or you just want to do a quick thing of a synopsis? You saw Jesus.
well, we can do a synopsis, and if you ever want to talk deeply about it, we can,
Well, let's
do
do
that.
the synopsis. Okay, just a quick thing, and then we'll end on your wonderful services.
Yeah. So, 3 years after my NDE, and up at this point, I have no clue what has happened to me and what's happening to me. I'm clueless. I just feel like this open, um, this, I don't know, things, weird stuff happened to me. But anyways, 3 years after, I went to a float tank with a couple of my cousins. I don't know if you're familiar with the float tank.
Hmm.
They're also called a sensory deprivation tank.
Hmm.
And I can I cuss you because I was scared shitless when I went in there because it was so terrifying for me to do that because I'm a non-swimmer and I don't care to be in the pitch dark. But anyways, I went in there and I had this incredible experience, mind-blowing experience. But a part of that experience is where you want to talk about the micro, so the Christ part. In that experience, one of the sequence of events that happened was I was out in space, like the back of the background of your screensaver. I was just in
Hmm.
that black, beautiful, bright space with lights and stars, and I was there. I was just in that beautiful space. In what I wasn't there as a body, but I was there. I was like looking at it, and in front of me, this beautiful round earth appears. This beautiful, like the size of a basketball, so that far of a distance, it shows up and in front of me, and I have this awareness, this beautiful earth, and I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's the earth. Okay. And I'm looking at and as I look at the earth, so there was multiple things that happened, but right towards the end, I look at the earth and there's these three beautiful beams of light coming out of the earth. So if the earth was a round ball, there was 1, 2, 3, kind of like in a triangular form. There was this
Hmm.
beautiful, thick, bright, white light just emanating out of the earth. It's beautiful, bright pillar of light, but you could see layers of different light within light. That's just how it was. And then there was another one, and then there was another one. So I was looking at it, but while I was looking at it, there was this awareness. There was this, I don't know if there was a conversation. There's this knowing. There was this silent communication with something where I was looking at it and I knew what I was looking at because it was being introduced to me. This right here, they pointed to the first light, first pillar of light to my right. When I looked at it, they said that's the light of Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad in Islam. So that was his light. And I looked at him, I was like, okay, the light. But then I looked over to the next one. They said that light, that's Jesus Christ. That's the light of Christ. And I look over and I am just like, oh, wait a minute. So he's real. Because I know who Muhammad is. And when I see the light of Christ, not that it was brighter, not that it was happier.
Really, in what way?
the first light that was Muhammad, it was just as beautiful, just as glorious, just as bright, but it was almost like there was a it's almost as if somebody was to be sitting like this.
What was that
There was
last
an air
part?
of sadness. There was like this air of sadness to it,
Mm, okay.
like a dimness to it. You know how
Okay.
when you're sad, you feel dimmed? It was like bright light, but there was just
Okay.
a little bit dimmed and muted, enough for me to notice.
Okay.
And then I was told, and then I was also made aware that that third light was me. I was the third light. So then at this point, I'm standing in front, I'm looking at them, and it's almost like I'm communicating with both of them, but not with words.
Yes. Telepathy.
Yeah. And I'm sensing from Muhammad's light, there's this just like this feeling of sadness, and it's almost like as if it was, if I was to put words to it, if I was to say what it was saying, it's almost like a sadness of being misunderstood,
Oh, I
misseen.
got it. Okay. Okay. And then what about the light when you looked at Christ?
It was just boom. It was just bright.
Did he say
It was
anything
just
to you?
turned up. Mm-mm. It was just bright. It was just light. Um, so there was that exchange of the level of lights,
Mhm.
not words.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if that
Frequency.
makes sense. Yes. So it was like that. But then it ended because at that moment, when I had the awareness that at that moment, it's like a blank screen, and immediately I was like, the earth was gone, everything was gone, and I'm just looking at this black space. And now all of a sudden in that black space I see to my left, like as if you were to see one of the stars, the dots on the screen. I saw a dot which I knew was me, but I'm watching myself as the dot, as the tiny little spark of light. I see myself jumping into the sky and going across the sky. And then I see on this side, there's an open hand, just a palm of a hand. It's just an open hand in the middle of the sky. And this little, I follow this little speck of light, and it goes right smack in the middle of the palm of the hand. And then the hand just closes. And then I wake up.
Oh, wow. That's pretty heavy. What did you take away from that?
Uh, for many years, terrified, scared, couldn't couldn't make. It was hard to process that because, first of all, saying that I was standing in front of three lights, one was the other, and then in a lot of religious settings, that I was scared of how it was going to be presumed or perceived, and like, because I spent my own entire life Muhammad, being angry at Muhammad. I had spent my lifetime questioning religion and angry and arguing with adults. So how do I share this? But I couldn't never, and it was like the one thing that it's always a part of my mind. Like, it's just there. I don't think about it. I don't not think about it. It's just a part of mine. Um, sorry. Mm, I
So
just want
did
to make
it
sure.
did
Sorry.
it no, that's fine. Did it shift your thoughts on anything spiritual or religious after that?
Yeah, absolutely. I came back with a much more love, peace, and respect and understanding for Islam and Muhammad, whereas before I didn't have.
That's
Um,
good.
mhm. But then I was completely mesmerized by Christ's lights. So when I came back, um, I couldn't stop consuming, Christ information. Like I read books, and I read all the Joshua, all of it. Like, yeah. So I don't call myself religion. I can't quote the Bible, but I can tell you. You asked me something earlier, and the answer was, I think he's, do we choose or something like that? But I think,
Yes.
I think that we are all a continuation of our ancestors. We get birthed in by one another. Our soul is an extension of them. I think we are drop by drop. Everything before us and everything that comes after us will carry us. We're just, that. And I think some souls, some spirits, some lines, and I know that for me, my great grandfathers were healers and experiencers and seers, as I found out and discovered.
Really?
So I believe that just it continues until one of the generations, when one of us are chosen to be able to hold all of that and the experiences of this earth, and then maybe perhaps be able to be here and bring the energy of that here, like Christ did.
That's
I think,
beautiful. I love that perspective.
yeah, I think we get chosen by our ancestors, by how far they came, because whatever I don't finish in my lifetime, my kids will carry on. If my kids don't carry on, one of their great grandkids will. Just like I know I'm very much well connected to my great grand, whoever they were. I don't know them, but I know that I carry the love and light there, whatever they were working on.
Yeah.
Because
They do follow us.
one
Yeah.
of their books. I have one of their books, handwritten books,
Oh,
which I manifested and I brought over.
really?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
they're so proud of us because it's not easy being here, right? So they're
Oh,
very, very proud of us carrying the torch. And part of what they want us to do is transmute any energy that was negative.
yeah.
And to transmute it, we all need to do that. Please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.